Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes before we get started with today's session. All right. Welcome to the Arise for You workshop series. It's fantastic to see so many passionate students ready to embark on a journey of ideas, growth, and innovation. We're excited to kick off the series where each of you will discover what entrepreneurship truly means and how it's so much more than just big headlines or starting tech companies. Rise for You is India's latest and largest student entrepreneurship movement. It's designed to help you aspire, rise, and excel. Our goal is to empower you with practical skills, role mentorship, and national recognition, no matter your background, where you live, or your area of interest. Whether you dream about launching a robotics company, building a breakthrough app, or creating social impact, this is your platform to turn those dreams into realities. Before we dive in, here's a fun thought. Think of some really famous startups, not the ones started by superheroes or genius prodigies, but regular folks who saw a simple problem around them, whether it was a messy hostel, a slow website, or even a long lunch queue. Entrepreneurship starts with ordinary observations that spark creative solutions. Many successful ventures were born from everyday student life, solving that annoying campus problem or inventing a new way to connect with friends. So keep your eyes open today. That quick joke with your friends or a shared frustration might just be the first step in your entrepreneurial journey. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Karan Dharmendra Patil, co-founder and managing director of Sakar Robotics. Karan is much more than an entrepreneur. He's an innovator, a mentor, and a global world skills expert in autonomous mobile robotics. Karan knows firsthand that the entrepreneurial path is about perseverance, creativity, and teamwork, not just capital or credentials. Today, Karan is here to share stories, insights, and lessons you'll need to explore what is entrepreneurship really? Now let's welcome Karan to lead our session. Get ready for an interactive, energizing start to your Arise for You experience. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you, Sharanya. Thank you, the complete team, for having me here today. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be here talking about entrepreneurship with you and busting few of the common myths that we all start with. It's a fairy tale when we think about it and when we are on the other side of it. But once you enter it, it is a road full of spikes and stones and fire where you have to walk through. So this session is kind of an reality setter for you guys where you actually see what entrepreneurship is firsthand, setting the right expectations for yourself, and then taking it forward. So I have a small deck with which I can start, and then we can go ahead and have some of your common questions asked and answered with Saranya. So let me just share my screen. Uh, Quickly, can I have a feedback whether my screen is visible? A thumbs up would do. Yeah,
Yes, Karan,
great.
it's visible.
Thank you. So, as I said, that entrepreneurship is something which, we have a lot of myths around it, or it looks a fairy tale from the outside, where you see a person in the magazines having front page coverages, or maybe somebody who is working from anywhere in the world and traveling to exotic locations, or somebody who started just, a week back and today has 1 crore in sales. This is not true. This is not certainly true for each one of us. There might be some edge cases, some outliers who might be able to do that, but not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is something which it looks very different. So think about somebody, just outside of your house having a grocery store. He is an entrepreneur or she is an entrepreneur who has started on their own and quite profitable, running their own livelihood through that. Somebody who is, grinding uh, at the age of 50, maybe your father, maybe your uncle, who with along with their job started something, maybe selling some policies, selling some agarbattis with their own job, just to have that feel of, an extra income coming their way, or a backup plan whenever their job or their responsibilities are over. Even in today's world, we have a lot of social entrepreneurs solving some of the pressing social needs, maybe plastic, water shortages. All these are actually the entrepreneurs, not with billions of dollars or billions of followers with them, but actual impact created on ground. So that is the real face of entrepreneurship, where you look through the lens in your vicinity rather than somebody you can always see on screen or in your newspaper. The entrepreneurship is where you actually see them in the real world. Critically, entrepreneurship is, as Sharanya said in the beginning, the observations that we have in the real world, that we call as the problems that we see, the challenges that we observe. And then, if you are able to add some value by solving those challenges or problems, that is where you have hit the jackpot, and that is where you are, a true entrepreneur. So it's not about your age or where you're starting or just ready to get the funding or anything tech. It is simply about having a problem which is large enough to solve and then creating a valuable solution so that customers or users can benefit out of that. That is the true sense of entrepreneurship. And in that process of delivering that value, you gain a value yourself, that is money, and that is how your business becomes profitable. So the number one myth which we all see, that which I want to bust over here, is that it's a very short span. It's like in today's real world or a YouTube shorts world, 30 seconds and you can have a formula for success. That is not true in entrepreneurship. It's not an overnight success. It's a hard grinding for multiple years. Definitely it is an overnight success when you compare it with a traditional job or a traditional work that you would do, because that span which you will require in a job to earn that kind of a money or earn that kind of a power is not possible. But with entrepreneurship, it is possible. The impact that you create is possible, but it definitely takes a lot of amount of time and also a lot of grinding. So when I say money and impact, it is a relative term. For some, it might be on a global scale. For some, it might be on a national scale. But for some, it might be even on a very minutest local level. For example, the shops that you might be able to see where your local grocery person opens up one, two, three of their own franchisees. So even that is, a large success in one's lifetime. But it again depends on what kind of resources do you have, what kind of impact do you have, and whether you are built for that kind of scale. The other myth that people identify is that I can do everything on my own, which is not true. You cannot do anything on your own. Entrepreneurship has pros and cons when you start on your own and when you have a partner with you. But when you think about a scalable business which goes global or national, at least you need to have good partners, good friends on whom you can vouch on and you can begin your journey. It is largely to share your load, have somebody to, constantly keep you aligned with the vision, mentor you throughout the journey, and then also about executing to the perfection, which is possible only when you focus on smaller chunks of the entire business so that you have partners who can focus on the other part which is critical. So it's not just that a solo person, a solo genius can do something, but it is largely when you have a group of, good partners, good team members coming up, you can solve for the larger use cases. Smart entrepreneurs are the ones who manage risk and not take risk. So risk management is a very critical aspect of entrepreneurship. It is not about taking risk. Everyone can take risk without thinking of the consequences for sure. But when you think about the consequences and manage your risk, that is something which is very, very critical. So instead of saying that, okay, let's fail fast, it is very important to identify those failures, make them smaller, and learn from those failures before you fail fast. Instead of quitting your job on day one, hustling a little bit, putting more of your time is very critical. And then instead of going all into the perfect product that can be there in the market, building smaller version of those products, constantly testing them back with your customer, and then launching is something which is very critical. Absolute interesting part over here is instead of using investors or personal money, it's always better to use customers' money. If you are able to deliver value, the customers are already ready to pay you. That value should be always more than what you are charging them. So that is how you manage your risk and not go all in into it. Apart from that, there is also one thing which nobody talks about. It's the cost apart from the money that it takes to build a business. See, people can give you capital, people can give you network, but what people cannot give you is your time and your health. These are the two critical aspects of entrepreneurship which are neglected all along. Your personal cost in putting up this show is very important, where you might be missing on critical events, investing your time so much that you are not able to maintain good relationships, or maybe your social life becomes too social for just business, but nothing as such as recreation. This is a personal cost that you put into the business. It also has a large impact on your health, where you have to battle between multiple, issues where your health takes a toll. You don't get sufficient time to exercise, but that's an excuse for sure. You always get sufficient time. You just have to trade it off. But then, because of the level of stress or anxiety or the amount of uncertainty that you have to deal with, you can have a very adverse health impact. And these two costs, nobody can compensate, even in terms of money. But then there's also a financial cost. When you start a business, you cannot take handsome salaries. You either have to put in your own money or your family's money. So there is a financial risk also involved into it, and that is something that not all can work out. You have to maybe take a personal loan on yourself and then build a business on top of it, and then pay some handsome interests on it. So these are critical costs that you should also consider before starting entrepreneurship, because it's not all fancy every time. Apart from that, failure isn't a badge, you cannot say that I failed two times, three times. It's a pain. Don't don't make failure play it on your LinkedIn or to in your pitch to investors. It's not something that you should be proud about. The learnings are definitely important, but you should also highlight the pain that was there in failing in those aspects. The pain might be in terms of financial pain, it can be your time that has been lost into it, or even the people who were dependent on you, but because of the failures that were there, they lost the opportunity to work, or maybe they had to struggle with their families for some time. So failure, isn't something that you need to be showing it off, but you should, understand that you have to learn through it. You have to build a resilience towards it, that if again a failure comes, it will be lesser impactful than the one that was previous one. I will be moving towards a better success rather than the repeated failures. And then also, it is important that starting from zero again is difficult. And what failure gives you is the playground, that you are not starting from zero again, but you have built something, and then you are again recreating on top of that failure. That is also, a critical aspect to it. One thing that you cannot inherit from anybody and nobody again can give you is the mindset that is required. So there are multiple traits, but these five traits are something that I find are largely important for anybody who is starting entrepreneurship. Number one is that you can, sustain with all the challenges, all the problems that are thrown at you. You take those complexity in your head, you categorize each one of them, simplify them, build a proper system around it, and then again run on track to get a next problem, next challenge to you. That is something that is very important. Second is, see, things won't change for you. As an entrepreneur, we want to be in control for everything. But the most important part is you cannot control everything and you have to be adaptable for many things. And those adaptations will drive your journey towards becoming something that you never thought you would. Your complete behavior, your complete mindset about approaching your things will change when you become more and more adaptable and try to see that you cannot control everything, but focus on what you can control, and then rest of the things you just leave it to the market, leave it to the people who can be in control to solve it for. Apart from that, entrepreneurs should love problems, because if you think that problems are a mess, then you are not the right kind of entrepreneur. Because entrepreneurs are born out of problems. So they always love to see problems. Even if you see Shark Tank, the investors are ex-entrepreneurs themselves and not just any investment bankers or private equity fund owners, because those entrepreneurs who do the seed fund, they know that they love problems, and that problem was something that they already thought about, or they reflected on it, or they were they are the ones who face that problems themselves. So that's why they put in the capital to solve, because they know that they cannot solve all the problems that they feel are important, but they can have entrepreneurs like them who can solve it. So as an entrepreneur yourself, you should fall in love with the problems that you see. Persistence is very important, where you celebrate smaller wins and also create critical goals going ahead that will give you the sense of smaller success building up the larger success. At the first point itself, if you are putting a large goal and you are not able to achieve it, then your all the three traits that you have above, resilience, adaptability, and problem focus, will go in vain, because then you will not feel valued. You will feel that I have not done good enough. So have a focus on smaller milestones that you have to achieve, celebrate them, but at the same time, keep pushing yourself with the next set of goals that you see. And the most important point, which any entrepreneur should have, is the learning mindset. Because if you see, when we say that you don't need experience, you don't need age, you don't need location as an entrepreneur, that is because an entrepreneur constantly learns. For him, the degrees don't matter, the courses don't matter, the online courses don't matter. What matters to them is learning from each and every point that they can, be it reading books, be it talking to people, be it watching some movie, watching some series. Having a learning mindset constantly bridges you towards success, because then you don't have an ego that I know everything, and this is the field that I need to be, master in. Because entrepreneurs are masters at nothing, but they are generalist. They specifically know knowledge about each trait so that they can guide their employees or their team members on what actions they need to take critically. But then on the execution level, they know that their people are better at it. So at the upper layer, having knowledge and becoming a generalist in all the major fields that a business is involved in is very critical. And that cannot be given into a course, or that cannot be given into a lecture. It is something that you constantly build yourself. That is very important. Now, if you are starting your journey towards entrepreneurship and this will be your first venture, then there's some action that you need to take. I hope that you are here for action, because entrepreneurs love action. Enough of talking, enough of reading, and then what next? What I have to do next? That is what entrepreneurs think about. So here's what I think you need to do right now. You need to think about a problem. And where will you get that problem? Is to talking to some customers, talking to some people. So maybe you think that you are, interested about film industry. Who can be your customer? Maybe some actors, directors, story writers, script writers. These can be your set of customers. Just going to them, talking to them, asking them what kind of problems do you feel, do you think are there in the industries, will give you a good amount of problem bank with you. Once you have that problem bank ready with you, then you have to run small experiments. You have to think about some solutions. You have to develop some MVPs. And now with AI and all the Gen AI stuff, it's very easy to build your solutions. Okay. Solutions are not just tech, but they could be a small process, a document, a book, a shop, a hardware product. It can be anything. It's not just tech, but it can be anything. So MVP is not just a tech word that you have to build an app, you have to build a website, or you have to build a robot. It can be even burger is an MVP where you experiment constantly on the recipes, on the ingredients, what it is. So maybe your first burger MVP would be just a sauce and a bread. That's your first MVP. And then somebody will tell you, no, I would like to have a beetroot as the patty in it. So you go, you bring one beetroot and then you grind it and then it becomes a thick pile. You put it inside and then you give it and they say, oh, this is a healthy burger. I have a burger with a beetroot in it. Somebody will say, no, bread is not good for my health. So instead of having the bread with maida, you put something completely different. You make a rice flour and you use the rice flour and then you say no, it's a South Indian inspired burger where you have a rice flour and then it's like a parota or a dosa and in between that you have your patty. These are the iterations that you constantly do with asking your customers what they really want. And finally, what is more important is that start, because we think about many things, we write about many things, but what we don't do is start. Enough of Gyan. Let's move on to some talking. Let's move on to some of your questions that are there. And then let's get connected. Even after the session, I'm always open. I think that once this webinar details were shared, I received a lot of LinkedIn requests. So I'm always open on LinkedIn. Put me questions. Even right now, if you have questions, I'm open for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karan. I think that was very, very insightful. I have a couple of questions that I have on my end, and we also have the chat box open. So if anybody has any questions that we've missed out or you feel you would like answered, please feel free to add that to the chat box. Karan, I think one thing that I would like to ask you about is mainly the origin and the why. I think we've spoken a lot about the how and the to dos and the not to dos and all of that. Before you were the founder, who were you? What was the core belief or your personal mission? And what fueled you to take the leap into entrepreneurship? And especially when in today's world, or it's a common misconception that it's seen as a very illogical path, or like or a dangerous path. What was that one thing that fueled you to make that step?
Uh, See, Mm, For me, I was a creator all along my life. By creator, I mean that even when I was 4 years, 5 years old, my father was an engineer. He used to work for a large printing company, global printing company. So he was a service engineer for that company, and he used to have his own toolbox. Luckily, I had that toolbox, and I used to even, whatever things I get, I used to open them. So I had a small cycle, and my father showed me how to, completely rebuild that cycle by opening it and then again reassembling it. That were, I think, the early origins of me getting in love with things which are related to engineering, mechanical, electronics. I was lucky enough that I had all the resources provided by my father, where I had access to computer in 2000, 2002, even when I was just, hardly 4, 5 years old. Since that time, I had access to internet, access to computers. So that helped me to have a baseline working on the technology, where I was constantly exposed to, working with technology. Even when my father shifted to telecom, I was the first one to get hands-on with 3G, 4G, 5G, these sorts of technologies. So it opened up a gateway for me where I thought that software, electronics is something that I can do. And that's why I took admission in engineering. When I went for my engineering, there I was again exposed to a large chunk of different set of people, professors who are working on machine vision, who are working on robotics. There were a lot of competitions that were happening. So I participated in those competitions, got addicted to building good robots, good hardware, good software, and participated in again multiple competitions. So that was the moment that I thought that I want to live in this industry for a very long time. This is what I love doing, and I would want to, do my entire life, build things, build robots, build automation systems, because it was a wow moment when you see that you are programming something and a hardware moves. It's like you have put a life into it. So that was very interesting for me. I could have done that in a job also. Why I
Mm-hmm.
started a business was because of a personal problem that I felt. Uh, since the beginning, if you see, there was not a proper guidance or a proper way to learn robotics or machine vision or software development. Now you have MOOCs and everything, but when I was just starting out, there was nothing. So it was just blogs. A lot of forums were there at that time, where you have to read through, you have to go through. BBC and Discovery, they ran few of this TV shows which showed you how to build things. So I thought that this should be at a mass level. And during my engineering days itself, I thought that I can teach people, I can show them how things are built. So that was my first actually, out of my, just third year of engineering, I started teaching people, I started training people that how you can build your projects, finally your projects, how you can, create robots. And that is how I started earning money. I started charging them. I started, taking fees for building projects. I started taking money for building websites. So, not in a formal structure, but it was just that, okay, pay me something and I will build you this. Or if you want to learn this, then this is the course that I'm doing. You can start. I got invited by many colleges during their technical fest to take workshops where they used to pay. So that is how the thing started moving. And I was already on track of earning by giving my services. So I never knew that I'm an entrepreneur, but it just fell in the right places. After 2 3 years of doing it, I felt that I am too young to, mentor anybody, and too young to teach anyone. There's a lot of learning that I need to do myself. And I love building, but while I'm teaching, I think I'm getting away from building things. So I started Sakar Robotics formally, where I thought that let's solve some of the core problems that will give you a lot of value just doing training.
Mm-hmm.
So with Sakar Robotics, I was focused on the technologies again, that robotics and machine vision is something that I can build, but I was not aware of what kind of problems I can solve. So the first thing I started was talking to all the people who can buy robots or buy automation systems or are in a position where, they can build some, they can use some robots. So I started talking with municipal corporations, railways, some IT companies, some warehousing companies, some manufacturing companies, and that's how the journey began. So they gave us the first problem, we solved the solution, then it scaled to different deployments. And now today we have three products specifically for railways, pharmaceutical industry, and facility management companies. So that's how it was built.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have a question, and I think we have a question in the chat box that relates to it. So
Mhm.
my question was for someone at the starting line that's just beginning their entrepreneurial journey and do not have like a fully polished idea. What would
Mhm.
be a couple of steps, that you would suggest to test if the idea is worth pursuing? And I think another aspect of that is also what Aditi has put in the chat box, which says there's a time when everybody hits a block in terms of their ideas and iterations, wherein you have that thought block. So I think we put both of this together. How do you test your starting stages, and how do you overcome that idea block that you might stumble upon?
See, I will tell you a harsh reality of this world. Nobody has a completely polished idea on their product, because products are ever evolving. If you see, if it's a finished product, why do we have software updates? Why do people upgrade to a newer phone? So it's not that you will always have a completely finished product. You will have something ready with you, which will be the worst, that you will be laughing on it. But then somebody will be ready to pay for it if if it is solving a real problem. So if you let's say have to compare the iPhone that is launched recently versus the iPhone which was launched by Steve Jobs, huge difference. We cannot think that how it has evolved. Definitely, the technology has evolved, something has evolved, but some of the things were already existing during that time also, but they were not put in. So it was the first set of MVP that was launched during that time. Then there were some early set of customers. So that time when iPhone was launched, it was not launched as a mass product. It was launched as an alternative to productivity mobile phones, which were like Blackberries or Palm devices that time, and not the Nokias. So that's why even when they were comparing in the first slide when Steve Jobs launched that phone, it was compared against Blackberries and Palms and Motorola's, and not with Nokia or some sort of basic phones. Why? Because it was a productivity machine. But today, the iPhone lineup is compared with all the Android phones that are out there in the market or all the other iPhones which are there in the previous. So even when you start, you might have an unfinished idea or a simple idea which will solve for only one customer or only for two customers or only for three customers, very small market. Start with that, get them, solve for them, and then slowly and steadily you can expand the market. In our case, I'll tell you that we made first machine for railways, and we are still serving the railways for doing a visual inspection for the bed sheets that are given in AC compartments. Most of the times you might have had a very bad experience with the bed sheets. They are not properly washed, they stink, or they might be torn somewhere. So railways, they deliver 30,000 40,000 bed sheets from one station. It is very difficult, humanly impossible to check the quality for them. But then we gave them an AI-based system with which they can sort. The good quality bed sheets will go ahead and be delivered to the passengers, and the bad quality bed sheets will be rejected in the laundry facility itself. Now, this machine right now just for railways, but has a market in hotels, hospitals, airlines, and can be scaled to different customers. But as on today, it's just one customer and one customer getting our multiple machines. So when you have first set of ideas, don't think about that how you will sell it to lakhs of people, thousands of people. Think about one, two, three people who are niche in that, who can use it, who can bear with your failures or your bugginess. Railways was, what they thought is that right now it's a 0% quality check. Even if we go to 10% quality check, it's a big win for them. Today we are doing 80% quality check for them. So in a way, it has increased. So even if the software is buggy, even the accuracy is lower, it is an acceptable form and factor. So you have to find some people who will be okay with having bugs, but then will have a large chunk of their problem solved. That is the first thing. Second thing is your product will evolve with the feedback that you get from customers. So when the bugs will be there, when you will have a lot of features which are not aligned with the customer's problem, the customer will tell you. You have to be, listening to them patiently that this is something that they want and you need to put in your system and then again test it with them. So based on those feedbacks, you will be able to again make a foolproof system of your product. But understand, it will never be over and it will never be a finished idea, finished product. It will always be something that will evolve. You have to first start and then go ahead and deploy.
Thank you so much. Aditi, I think that answers your question about how do we decide the requirements for an MVP. As Karan just mentioned, as and when the product grows and as and when you collect feedback, I'm guessing that's how your MVP develops over time. Karan, do you have anything to add to that? And if not, we can move to the next question.
Hey, I'll just add that I think I missed one part of your question, which was that how do you get those ideas or how do you frame those ideas? So it is again
Yeah,
talking to people. It is largely when you talk to people, you get those ideas. So your first step before MVP also starts with the customer, and then your next step also starts with the customer. Only in between, you need a team who can execute on the feedback that the customer is giving.
got it. Thank you so much for that. I think one other thing that I would like to highlight is what can established entrepreneurs or upcoming entrepreneurs learn from non-traditional or grassroots founders? Because I think you mentioned like, hey, somebody that has a local grocery store or somebody that runs a local bakery is also an entrepreneur in their own way. But they don't use like today's entrepreneurs have a series of tools and a series of things at their disposal. We know about marketing, we know about the social media, we know about using the internet, but there are people that started with none of that, but they are having flourishing businesses. So what would you say, maybe let's say two or three just top of your mind things that we can adapt or we can learn from them in terms of how can you take that at the grassroots level but combine it with today's innovation in tech to build a successful business?
See, there are a number of things that we can learn from grassroots entrepreneurs because out of which something which I have in my mind, the first one is the satisfaction. Because even if you are an entrepreneur who has raised multiple millions of dollars of funding, but if you're not satisfied with what you're doing, then I think you're in the wrong game, because somebody who is a fruit seller, at the end of the day, when all his fruits are sold out, he's the most happiest person in this world, because he has been able to, completely turned his cash from an investment and gotten a return the same day. That is number one thing. Second is, uh, we see that there are so many news of people, even after raising millions of dollars, run out of cash and be loss makers for so long. There are people who turn cash on an everyday basis, who have a capital and then they rotate the capital on an everyday basis and also earn their livelihood without a proper CFO or a proper finance degree or anything. It's a trade that is humanly possible for everyone. It's just that how do you manage that cash? Definitely, there are businesses which will require cash burns and they will be not profitable. But then having an understanding that survival is more important than growth, because you can grow only when you survive. So how do you extend your survival within your available cash? I would like to quote Dipinder Goyal from Zomato here. He always ensure, he has written in his book or in some interview has said that he has always preserved cash so that his business never runs out of 18 months of cash, even if it means that he has to let go of few people or run the cost down or something. He put a benchmark that I should always have a cash which is will run the business for next 18 months, even if it means growing the business a little slower, because then it means that you are surviving, and when you survive, then only you can think about growing. Otherwise you cannot. So these are the small traits that these kind of entrepreneurs give. Also very important is that there are multiple Indian stories where somebody started with a shop, but now it has become a multi-billion dollar brand. It has become a large case. So even the stories of Reliance, where Dhirubhai Ambani started selling just textile out of on a bike, and then growing to a conglomerate which is there right now, Reliance. It took now it is taking 3 generations to build that business. So planning of that, assets and then going down the line, this is something that, from grassroots level to the successful entrepreneurs. This is something that we all need to learn.
Got it. Thank you. I think we have another question about very similar to what you just said. Shanmuka has a question which says, I'm starting a new e-commerce clothing website. And since my model offers at least 20% lower prices than competitors, how do I create a strong brand identity beyond just being cost effective?
Okay. It's a very specific question, and these are two edges which are completely opposite. So if you are cost
Hmm.
efficient, you're cost effective, it is very difficult to build a brand. And if you are a brand, then being a cost effective is very difficult. So unlike the likes of Zudio or the brands which source on a mass level and then they are able to put discounts on good quality products, or like DMart who have large sourcing and directly sourcing from the manufacturers, it is very difficult to be cost effective and create a brand together. Somehow all the new entrepreneurs who are coming in the entrepreneurship or starting business feel that if their product is cheaper, then they can achieve the success in the market. Or if there is an existing product in the market which is at 100 rupees, if I am able to put a similar product at 90 rupees, I can succeed. But I'll tell you that if you have a same product and if you price it at 110, people think that you are a much premium and a much exquisite brand, and it's always better to go with you even in terms of paying 10 rupees extra. So instead of thinking about, if you have to first focus whether you want to become cost effective and focus on large volumes, or you want to focus on small volumes and create a brand around it, because these are two different edges that you need to solve right now. So if you want to say that you want to build a brand, then charge your product at a premium, create a list of exquisite designs, or create some sort of now it's a concept of drop in the e-commerce world, where you just have 10 drops or 15 drops, and after that you will not have the same design or same pattern again. That's how you will be able to build a brand. But if you want to say you want to focus on 1 lakh pieces delivered in next 1 month or 2 months, then you have to be cost effective, you have to lower your prices, and then focus on mass market, where you can sell it through YouTube, LinkedIn, or maybe some reels. That will solve your purpose.
Got it.
But it's two different
Um,
things. You will have to focus on one at the beginning.
Got it. I think we'll just take two more questions. One would be, what are the similarities between working in a large MNC and being an entrepreneur? Today, we do have a lot of people that start their journeys in MNCs, and then while they're constantly building their ideas and trying to do the groundwork towards being an entrepreneur, what do you think people can use common to both? And what can they learn from their, say, MNC role and bring it into their entrepreneurial journey that would take them further?
See, it depends on what kind of skill sets you have and what kind of skill sets you don't have. So, for example, somebody who is not a good communicator working in a large MNC will give you a good hang of communication skills. So, it will give you a good, aspect of how you can talk to people, how you can frame your public speaking skills or presentation skills. If you are, let's say, somebody who cannot work in a structure, who cannot work with proper systems in place, so having worked in an MNC gives you a proper roadmap on how hierarchies are built, how people work on systems, how people run on their own, how if somebody from one role is deployed to other role, but a newcomer comes into that role, he is able to adapt that system and run through that. So these kind of things you learn in an MNC and then you implement in your business and or in your startup. For example, for me, I never had I never worked in a company, so I don't know how companies operate during the time when somebody leaves in that organization. So how those systems are built, how the knowledge gets transferred from somebody who has left the organization versus somebody who is coming in, how the IT department of a company works. I don't know how the devices are monitored, how those things are done. But then if you're working somewhere, not just an MNC, but if any organization, you can always have those people and talk to them and ask them how they are doing their jobs so that you have a high level of understanding. And then you can bring somebody from the similar domain or the same person working in a company gives you that. Actually, I'll give you an example. Large amount of companies are started by ex-colleagues. They worked in
Yeah,
some company together and then they started together because they have that set of complementing skills and they knew each other. So that these are the advantages that you can have.
agreed. And it's always nice to have a familiar face on the team. It's always
Yeah,
nice to
yeah.
have a friend on the team. I have two last questions. I think related to what you just said, like when you have a small market and a great brand, is it a right idea to bring in funding when the idea is in its initial stages?
See, funding is something which depends on your appetite and what you want to do. We typically feel nowadays that getting funding is very easy and people are getting so much of funds. Raising funds is so nice. But I'll tell you one reality that you need to understand before you raise funds. Funding doesn't come free of cost. You're giving an equity. And the fund managers or the VCs who are in the market funding startups have a return to give to the investors. Uh, the investors are the ones actually with high net worth, with a lot of money, and they give it to VCs to manage and give a fixed return to them. Typically, their funds that they have to return has a short amount of duration or a fixed duration, not short, but I'll say a fixed duration in which they have to return. Now, instead of thinking about your business that, okay, now I'm small, now I'm scaling, now can I raise fund? Think about the perspective of the VC. Will I be able to provide a 4x, 5x return to my investor who is going to put in money right now in that amount of time? And can I build that kind of a business? If yes, then you are ready for funding. Because it doesn't matter what kind of business you are running or what sort of business you are running to the investor. For them, it is whether your business will scale to that much height where they can expect a 3x, 4x, 10x return in that much duration of time. If yes, then they will fund you, not vice versa. How much ever good business you have, whatever background you have, if you're not able to quote those returns or think from their perspective, from their lens, then it is very hard to get funding. That said, there are few investors who are focused on building technology. So in deep tech, there are few investors rather than strictly being on the returns, they also focus on technology that is being built. And even if you are in the business of not making money for next 8 years, 10 years, but you're creating valuable IP, you are creating valuable technology, they are there to fund you. But then it is very hard tech where it is very deep tech, where you are competing with the likes of SpaceX, you are competing with the likes of ASML or some semiconductor company where a niche technology is being built. But for all the businesses which are traditional in nature, common in nature, understand one thing that either through your execution, either through your product, or either through your processes, will you be able to scale it to multiple thousand crores within the next 3 to 4 years? and whether you will be able to put in that kind of efforts will give you the answer to should I raise funds or not. Because raising
Got
funds is a big waste of time, let me tell you, if you are not raising it in a proper way. It will
it.
eat up a lot of your time, which you can focus on building the business.
And I think fair to say we are a little over time, but one of the I think as when I was a student, getting an internship probably was something that was on the top of my mind. And I think we have quite a bit of students here today that have the same question. So as a student, what is a path that they can take in terms of connecting with people in the industry regarding internships, and not just internships that are available to them, but reaching out for internships that add value to what their future path would look like for them.
Okay. So this is a very interesting question because this is how the job dynamics is changing right now. People will want you as an intern first before giving you a job as a fresher, because the internships have proven a very good model in the market where you work for somebody for a few months. They get a hang of how your working style is and how you work with them. After that, you can have a very good understanding with them and get a placement with them. So this model is going to scale very rapidly, where even in your final year, in your last 6 months of your final year, you will have worked with somebody and then you will join them immediately after that. How to get that internship in the company that you want is something which is very critical, because now you don't have something which is placements. The concept of placements from colleges will go away very soon, where companies are coming to campus and they are taking interviews and then they are getting hired, because all the large companies already have started their own common portal for placements, where they take you for internship and then they recruit you directly from there. In such a scenario, if you want to have a chance at getting an internship, the number one thing that you need to build is your own portfolio of work that you do. So if you are into, tech, building a GitHub repository, building your hardware projects, putting them on YouTube. If you are in non-tech, maybe commerce or maybe in marketing, so having your marketing resources or assets. If you are in sales, showing some proven record in the past of selling some products, or creating your sales pitch videos and putting it in your resume will add a lot of value, because these are all sorts of practical ways you are telling the recruiter that I know what kind of job I'm getting into and I have worked a little bit on my own in that. So that is one thing that you need to build your own portfolio of work that you have done. Second is you need to hit everyone that you think is relevant in your field, in your industry, on LinkedIn. That is the number one platform that you need to be on when you are searching for internship, because now access to people has become so easy with LinkedIn. And if you are using Perplexity or if you're using any AI tool, getting the email IDs of people has become a child's play. If you know the person you want to target, just ask somebody like Perplexity search or even Gemini search that I want email ID of so and so person. You will definitely get an email ID. If not, ask it to give probable list of 10, 15 combinations of their email IDs based on their profiles. At least one or two will be a right hit. So that's how you can now easily approach people. When you approach, so first is portfolio and then approach. The third and most important part is when you approach, nobody wants a lengthy message. They want it crisp, short, to the point. So it should be like introducing yourself, thanking them, and what do you want? Just three things. With this, you will be able to, get very good replies from people.
That's good. Thank you. And I think I add to that, like on a personal note, that's precisely what I would have suggested as well. And I think founders or anybody that's in the industry today really respect students that are making that effort, that are ready to put themselves
Yeah,
out there. So just reach out and just reach out to any number of people. There's no harm in it. You can send out a LinkedIn request to maybe say 30, 40 people. Even if five of them get back to you, that's still a very big and a very
very
good
big.
number.
Yeah.
So leverage internet, leverage networking, leverage be a part of groups on LinkedIn. Look at what people are talking about. Be actively involved in conversations, and that's how you network. That's how you get more involved in the industry that you are looking to be a part of. That obviously brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much, Karan. I think that was a very, very insightful session. And everybody that's on the session, if you have any questions for Karan, as you mentioned, he is happy to take it up. You can feel free to reach out to him and stay in touch with him, stay connected with him. You never know, he might give you your internship tomorrow if you reach out to him. When well, kickstarting the Rise for You workshop series, today's session introduced you to India's biggest student entrepreneurship movement and the mindset, your launchpad for your real world impact and innovation. I would like to let you all know to keep yourselves ready for a lineup which covers everything from spotting winning ideas and building teams to mastering pitching and funding. Every session is packed with practical insights, just the way we had a conversation with Karan today, fun challenges, and expert guidance to help turn your ideas into realities. There's so much more to learn, there's so much more to experience on this journey. Stay tuned to our social media and stay tuned to find more information about our upcoming sessions. The next session will be on the 18th of September, and we will be discussing more about what Arise for You is and how the program is going to help you build your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you, Karan. Thank you for your time today, and it was such a
Thank
pleasure
you. Thank you
speaking
so
with you.
much.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great day and have a great week. Bye bye.
Thank you.